Horror Hour.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Get you
The dead.
You are undoubtedly.
Here's
All right. Well, welcome to the Horror Hour. It's a place we discuss, we debate, we typically disagree on all things horror, but today I'm really excited because, well, I'm joined by or with Noah Sagen from Blood Relatives, writer, director, producer, and actor. I mean, you've so many hats. So how's it feel to finally have this out there?
It's a little it's a little nerve-wracking to finally kind of put it out there. We had a really charmed experience leading up to the actual big Shudder release. We've been able to show the movie to a lot more people in person in theaters than I ever thought a little movie like this would be able to see, to be seen in a theater environment, and that's been really nice. So I'm really hoping that I'm hoping that some of the folks that were able to catch it at a festival or on our recent Draft House tour, that there's some word of mouth, and also that people's experience at home maybe isn't too dissimilar from the experience we all had together.
I mean, well, judging just by just seeing the response, and I would also have to say, unfortunately, I didn't get to see it in theaters, but I did catch it virtually at one of the festivals, and I've probably already seen this, I think, 5 times now. It pairs really good with A Wounded Fawn. It's a really good double feature. But
the Josh Ruben double feature, baby.
Yeah. But what I really enjoyed about this is I love a good horror comedy, but I was not expecting to walk away with this warm and fuzzy feeling, and just being so, and such a this joyous mood after watching this. And I think that says something, because that's not typically common, I think, with horror films. And so kudos on that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I decided really early on, that and it probably had something to do with where the movie came from. It's a personal film. It's sort of about a little bit about my dealing with becoming a dad, and I wanted it to be a happy story. I wanted it to be a happy ending, and I felt like that didn't have to be mutually exclusive from being a genre film. I gave it a shot, and and yeah, that is a bit of a risk in our world, right?
Yeah.
The sort of making a spooky movie or a genre movie and kind of subverting a little bit of the paradigm, maybe with some happiness and some sincerity and some joy and hope. But works for me. I hope it works for you guys.
I mean, again, clearly I enjoyed it, but I also loved the relationship between Francis and Jane, and just you and Victoria just had this chemistry. So how was it to filming and doing those scenes with her?
It was, it wasn't luck, because Vic is an incredible actor, and I knew she was an incredible actor. I'd seen her work, and and we had spoken, but Vic is also an associate producer on the movie, and that was not something that we started the process with. It's something that, because she really took over a lot of the, I don't know, sort of the figurehead responsibilities of being the lead actor and setting a tone, and really setting an example for me, really just being able to be somebody who I could work opposite of, and sort of say, did we hit it? Are we where we need to be? Should I do anything different? How do we kind of all stay in sync here? She took that on, and she really owned it, and it's a testament to her skill. And I think so often we think of actors in terms of talent, which of course she has by any degree, any measure, but it was really that skill that she has that kind of led to, I think, a lot of that back and forth and the kind of relationship that we formed.
I mean, I loved just in general when it came to dialogue and just the you guys pretty much in a sense biting at each other. I loved that the sarcasm. Something else though, this is your directorial debut, correct? So how is that just, again, you're wearing so many hats. So what was it like with the pressure of, directing your first film?
Oh, what pressure. um, um, my philosophy has always been as an actor that it's it's often nice to work with directors who are directing their own script, because it
Okay.
sort of can take a lot of the kind of unknown of that relationship. It can sort of help contextualize it, right? Because if we're all there, actors and crew members and producers, everybody is sort of there kind of unified over a screenplay,
Hmm.
and we stick to that and we all kind of like that and agree on that, then we have this sort of beautiful thing that can all, kind of often answer the questions for us, right? And the director,
Okay.
this sort of director becomes sort of this person who's there to kind of help us navigate the script and hopefully keep everybody in a good mood, and things are positive. And that's all the stuff that I really like. That's all the stuff that I've experienced on other productions where I've worked with writer directors. And so that's what I was trying to recreate, was that kind of
Okay.
dynamic, as sort of as a director, sort of being a little lazy.
Again, I still think it paid off. One thing I'd like to know, just in general, as you said, you're a new father, and so that's where this story came from. So, tell me about that, just that writing process.
Well, I had spent almost 20 years being a actor, a character actor, a guy who kind of had to go where the work was. And often I
Hmm.
was out of town. I would spend months and months, sometimes more time during a year out of town than at home. And when we started a family, my wife, who is a television writer and producer, and also a screenwriter, she's able to work out of LA and keep
Hmm.
pretty regular hours. And I really wanted to uh, be with my family.
Oh, of
I was
course.
really excited about having a little baby at home, and so I actually said, well, why don't I stay with the baby for now, while you're, at work, and then we'll all be together when you get home from work. We'll be able to have dinner together. All these things that had all been sort of uh, X factors for so much of my life. Um, I really wanted to have that experience, and we are lucky enough that we were able to do that. And I sort of took over, being a stay-at-home dad for a while. And babies
Hmm.
also sleep a lot, so while the baby was sleeping, I would write this script and sort of try to kind of work through some of the things I was feeling.
I love that. And as it came to fleshing out this story, and then also, you know, putting the movie out there, I'm just curious, is there any lessons that you learned just from, portraying Francis? Because I feel like, or at least I feel like he's an undead vampire, but I don't feel like he was really living until he bumped into Jane. So I'm just curious on that, if there were anything that you took from the film.
There's a part at the end of the movie where Francis sort of has a kind of realization, you know, and the realization, I think, on his part, is that he used to be one way and now he's another way, and that's okay. That's who you are. You are whoever
Hmm.
you are in that moment. And of course, you are maybe a sum of your parts, right? We take our experiences and we take the good and the bad, and that helps form, who we are moving forward. But who you are today is not who you were. And I think
Very
that
true.
that was something that I reflected a lot on as I was writing the script, and maybe it didn't hit home entirely until I performed that scene, and I kind of had to say it out loud in a really explicit way.
Why the vampire route?
I've always loved genre movies. I think of every movie as a genre movie, right? It's just whatever sandbox you're in. That's
Sure.
that's your place that you can start playing. And of course you could throw the sand out of the sandbox and you could do whatever you want with it. But I thought, so I always thought of it as a genre movie one way or another.
Okay.
And I've always loved monster movies. I've always been into monsters as characters. So, and I've never had a chance to play a vampire, but I've always wanted to play a vampire. So,
That's awesome.
I kind of started like, it wasn't quite like a list with a column, but if I had to make a list with a column, it would be this. It would be having an opportunity to make a movie about monsters, how that reflects on us as people, and then specifically be a vampire, who are kind of my favorite monsters.
I love that. Well, and then I'm just kind of curious, what are some of your favorite vampire flicks?
Ooh, the big question. You know, I mean, I'm going to give you pretentious, contrived film guy answers. I mean, obviously, yes. Do I love The Hunger, and do I love Near Dark? Absolutely. But
Oh, Near Dark is so good.
Ganja and Hess is a huge one for me. Ganja and Hess is one of my all-time favorite movies, not just a vampire movie. Trouble Every Day is a great one. Claire Denis film, Trouble Every Day. Dracula Dead and Loving It. Big inspiration. Not joking.
No,
Not joking
it's
on Dracula Dead and Loving It.
I mean, Leslie Nielsen is like any other, or none other. I love that film, and yeah, no, that's it's so good.
What about you? What's your favorite vampire movie?
I mean, you mentioned one, like Near Dark is just something I kind of grew up with. And then, but I still also loved the visuals of Bram Stoker's Dracula. And I mean, I'm a fan of Craven so much. And I know people kind of crap on the film, but I loved Dracula 2000. I don't know why. I just thought it was a sleek, sexy, just fun film. Didn't take itself too seriously.
Wow.
But I'm still kind of exploring that genre, because I'll be honest, like, I'm a gore hound. So for me to enjoy movies without that, though, I really want a good and engaging story. And that's also, which I have to kind of circle back around to, is what Blood Relatives really had. So I was just like, I mean, you almost had me like, I was almost like misty-eyed towards the end, because that's how much, like, it was a very good, again, walking away from a film, I'm like, I'm not supposed to feel like that from a vampire. I'm like, this is fantastic. So, but yeah, so for me, if you were to ask me like a horror film, I would choose all these gorehound flicks. But I'm still kind of getting into the vampire genre, because there's so much out there that I don't know. Another thing too is what this could have been also a serious horror, like a dramatic horror film. Why are they adding the comedy elements, which I did love, because I love sarcasm. So
oh well, I became a dad, and all of a sudden I became like a dad joke person. Like, it just happened. Like, I just woke up and I was like, I've got dad jokes now. And so I think it was talk about, like, becoming a new person, talk about a transformation. So I think I sort of didn't see a way to not include that. And I'm married to a brilliant comedy writer, and we love to laugh in the house. It's super important for us to be funny and just goof off. And I guess, that just found its way in, just this idea of sort of like, nobody ever smiled at something and then turned it off because they hated that. You know what I mean? It's,
it's true.
So, I mean, there was sort of a thing there where it's like, well, listen, if we can kind of keep ourselves sort of chuckling along with this story, maybe, yeah, there's some emotional stuff and there's some genre stuff, but hopefully maybe if you're just smiling, you're also kind of just digging it, and, come on in, get under the umbrella.
I mean, you guys had me cracking up when Vic or Jane didn't realize her own strength, and that hotel room. I was like, oh, I shouldn't be laughing, but that was really funny, and just the timing and the look on both your faces. I was like, that's good.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean that, I will say, when you have not a lot of time and not a lot of money, and things like gags, stunts and special effects, makeup, and I'm a lover of practical things. I think, you know,
Oh,
there's a place
I
for
bet.
everything. We've got it
Hmm.
all in this movie, and hopefully it's seamless. Hopefully you notice the gag, you don't notice whether it was done by a person or a computer or a combination
Hmm.
thereof. That's the dream, right? Is that nobody says, "Oh, that's good CGI," right? Or, you know, whatever. You're able to just take it as it is. Um, but you know, there were some limitations, obviously, in terms of what we could sort of do, and do right, do
Hmm.
effectively. And I guess a part of me also just felt like if we add some humor in there, if we're able to just kind of laugh through it, it might make it a little easier, you know, which is really the point of humor. You know, there's a lot of sort of heavy stuff in this movie, some heavy stuff,
There
family
are.
stuff. There's some heavy stuff about, you know, my heritage as a Jew in there. And I think it's just so important to kind of take that um, common perspective that anyone who feels like an outsider or feels like they might be an other has always taken, which is we've got to laugh and cry at the same time. That's how we get through it.
I really did appreciate that, and I loved that, just having that depth or that extra layer with Francis, because I can't say it's something that I've typically seen in vampire films, and I really just appreciated that because, you know, we have our, I guess, our common, or what we believe we should be seeing, and I guess for me, I like to see that, diversity, or just because again, for the most part, I think all of us just really want to see ourselves represented. So when you added that, as you know, who part of who Francis was, I really genuinely appreciated that, because I was like, that's not something that I was like, wow,
Oh,
okay.
well, thank you. And I mean, not to get too on my high horse, but I like to think that the whole point uh, of representation is to connect our experiences
Hmm.
on an emotional level, on a feelings level, right? Because we don't share the same experience. No two people share the
Yeah.
same experiences. No two cultures or heritages or creeds are exactly the same. But there are feelings that
Yes.
are unifiers. And if we can unify over that feeling, if you can unify over that feeling of being whatever it is, uh, uh, you know, scared or the way that your grandparents dealt with food, or whatever it's like, it's any of these things that are kind of unifiers, I think, among people who have, whether they consider themselves ethnic or whatever the sort of
Yeah.
broad kind of term is. Anyway, I think it just brings us closer because I realize, oh my gosh, we all kind of do feel the same way.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed that. I think, to finish this off with my final question, I'm just curious because I love genre, I love horror, and I think this past year, I know we all say it, but I really think this past year has just been stellar in terms of either box office or independent. And so I'm just curious, what has you most excited about the genre in terms of, was it new talent in front of or behind the camera, new themes? I'm just curious, what really just excited you over this past year?
Well, I became friendly, and I became friendly and served on the Philadelphia um, Film Festival jury
Hmm.
this year with Vera Drew, who made a movie called The People's Joker that had been programmed at um, at TIFF, at the Toronto International Film Festival. It was pulled due to some concerns about copyright infringement that I don't think are legitimate concerns. And it's become sort of a difficult movie to see. I think people will be able to see it, but it is an incredible, um, it's a testament to Vera's experience on a personal level, and then how that experience looks through a very genuine zeitgeist genre lens, right? I mean, this lens that is like something that we can all look through, that we are all like talk about iconic, right? The Joker.
Hmm. I've
And then
been
this
wanting to see this.
it's I mean, it's incredible, and she's incredible, and just just not only one of the funniest people, but also just one of the most insightful, smartest, savviest people that I've gotten to know. So I really was excited about becoming friends with Vera, and then also just excited. I'm excited for people to start seeing that movie and see
I
whatever
can't.
she's doing next.
I remember when that news broke, and I was like, I want to see this movie, and she seems like such an incredible person. So I'm really hoping, because it hasn't been. I don't think they've been able to release it yet. At least I don't think, because
Not yet,
I've
not
been
yet,
waiting.
but
Like, I'm praying on
get
that
out
one.
there, start talking about it. That's the thing, is I think it's like, all this, as we say in Yiddish, mishigas, it all hides in the shadows, no pun intended. So I think the more we kind of talk about it and demand it and get excited about it, the more we'll be able to see Vera's movie, and then see hopefully other stuff that's also, out there and important.
I love that. So Noah, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I really appreciate it. I
Thank you.
genuinely had so much fun with this film, and I just want to wish you the best rest of your day, man.
Oh, well, thank you so much. This has really been a pleasure for me, and I really appreciate the support. It means a lot.
Thank you.
You have been listening to the Horror Hour. See you next time.